In the heart of a tranquil, picturesque town, nestled deep within the embrace of a dense, ancient forest, an eerie unease had settled. Residents whispered of strange occurrences, odd shadows that elongated like eerie specters, and chilling winds that whispered secrets in the night. Yet, they dismissed these unsettling incidents as mere tricks of imagination. The town, after all, had been a haven of tranquility for generations. On a moonless night, under a blanket of velvety darkness, Emily Travers, a young, curious woman, embarked on a journey to unravel the mysteries that cloaked her beloved town. Armed with a vintage, crackling lantern that emitted a feeble, flickering light, she wandered through the winding, cobblestone streets. Her footfalls echoed eerily, as if the very ground beneath her was conspiring with the shadows. As Emily ventured further into the heart of the forest, a disconcerting fog wrapped around her, thickening with each step. Trees, gnarled and twisted, reached out like skeletal fingers, their branches rustling with a mournful sigh. Her pulse quickened, the rhythm of her heart beating in a frantic, desperate symphony. Deeper into the woods, she stumbled upon a decrepit, dilapidated cabin, its time-worn wood groaning as though in agony. She approached cautiously, her footsteps cautious and slow. The door creaked open with a torturous, prolonged squeal, revealing an interior bathed in a pale, ghastly light. Dust danced lazily in the air, creating an eerie spectacle. Within the cabin, Emily's lantern cast long, wavering shadows on the walls, revealing faded portraits of a family, people whose eyes seemed to follow her with a disconcerting intensity. She couldn't help but notice the hollow, elongated gaze of the figures in the paintings, their unnaturally elongated eyes locked onto her. Emily's breaths grew labored, each inhalation echoing with an unsettling resonance. Her curiosity, however, propelled her further into the cabin, deeper into the web of mysteries it held. In the dim light, she discovered an old journal, its pages brittle and yellowed with age. As she leafed through its entries, she uncovered a harrowing tale of a family once living in the very cabin, long since forgotten by time. A family that had practiced dark rituals, summoning forces beyond comprehension to satiate their insatiable thirst for power and immortality. It was then, in the eerie stillness of the cabin, that Emily heard the distant, haunting sound of a music box, a tune played with an unnatural, dissonant melody. She followed the haunting notes, which grew louder and more disconcerting with each step, leading her to a hidden chamber beneath the cabin's floor. In the chamber, she found a grotesque sight, humanoid figures, twisted and contorted, suspended from the ceiling. Their limbs stretched unnaturally, forming grotesque, elongated shapes. Emily's heart raced as she realized the truth: they were the cursed remnants of the family's dark rituals. With trembling hands, she reached for a tattered diary on a nearby table, its pages filled with the agonized confessions of a soul consumed by the malevolent forces they had unleashed. The diary spoke of a curse that bound the family to the cabin, their bodies stretched and contorted for eternity. As Emily read the final, chilling entry, the very air in the chamber seemed to thicken. She heard a sinister whisper in the shadows, a voice that echoed with torment. The cursed figures began to stir, their elongated limbs twitching with a grotesque, unnatural grace. Panicking, Emily fled the chamber and raced out of the cabin, but the sinister music box melody continued to play in her ears, growing louder and more discordant. As she emerged from the cabin, the once silent forest erupted in a cacophony of eerie sounds, whispers, moans, and the sinister laughter of entities beyond comprehension. Desperate to escape, Emily ran blindly through the forest, her lantern now casting frantic, erratic shadows. The very trees seemed to reach for her, their branches elongated and claw-like. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she tripped and stumbled through the labyrinthine woods. Finally, she burst through the dense forest and into the outskirts of town. Her wild, terrified eyes met those of the townsfolk, who gazed upon her with a mixture of fear and pity. Without a word, they ushered her into a waiting ambulance. At the hospital, Emily's mind was a maelstrom of horror, the words of the cursed diary and the haunting music box melody echoing relentlessly in her ears. The doctors tried in vain to soothe her, but her sanity had been forever shattered by the horrors she had witnessed. In the end, Emily became a permanent resident of the hospital, her body racked with an unrelenting, convulsive agony. She would forever be haunted by the elongated shadows and the chilling secrets of the quiet town, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape, a prisoner of the horrors that lurked in the shadows, hidden from the eyes of those who dared to seek the truth. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the once bustling amusement park. Moonlight painted eerie shapes across the silent rides and attractions, turning laughter into haunting echoes. Lakes of darkness swallowed the park, save for the faint flickering of distant streetlights. It was a place of joy by day, but as the hours stretched and the crowds dispersed, it became a realm of terror. Nestled deep within the woods, the park had always carried whispers of dark secrets. The caretakers called it Twilight Park, a name that seemed far too fitting for its sinister transformation at night. Its rusty gates creaked ominously as they swung open, beckoning those who dared to venture into the abyss of its haunted allure. Nestled deep within the woods, the park had always carried whispers of dark secrets. The caretakers called it Twilight Park, a name that seemed far too fitting for its sinister transformation at night. Its rusty gates creaked ominously as they swung open, beckoning those who dared to venture into the abyss of its haunted allure. A cold wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it an unsettling chill. John, a skeptical journalist, had heard the legends surrounding Twilight Park but had dismissed them as mere superstition. Until now. He had arrived at the park with a camera and a notepad, determined to unravel the mysteries that shrouded the place. His footsteps echoed through the empty entrance, each one seemingly louder than the last, like the park itself was breathing. The first ride he encountered was the Haunted Carousel, a grim, derelict structure adorned with grotesque wooden horses frozen in mid-gallop. Moonlight illuminated their sinister grins, revealing teeth sharpened to points. John approached cautiously, aiming his camera at the carousel. With a hesitant press of the shutter button, the flash illuminated the night, capturing a photograph that would haunt him forever. In the image, the horses had come to life. Their eyes gleamed with malevolence, their mouths twisted into wicked smiles, and their twisted forms no longer carved from wood but flesh. Shocked, John stumbled back, realizing that the supernatural tales were more than mere folklore. As he continued his journey through the park, John noticed unsettling details. The Ferris wheel creaked and groaned, its rusted cages swaying unnaturally as though animated by some unseen force. The Tunnel of Love, once a romantic attraction, now oozed darkness from its entrance, and spectral whispers seemed to call out from within. The roller coaster of doom loomed ahead, its tracks twisting into impossible shapes. John's heartbeat quickened as he felt an unnatural pull toward the ride. He climbed into one of the cars, hesitating only briefly before it lurched to life, hurtling him through loops that defied gravity. Panic set in as he realized there was no control, no brakes, and no way to escape. The ride's loops elongated into nightmarish contortions, and John's screams merged with the chilling laughter of unseen entities. He was trapped in a macabre dance of terror, unable to distinguish reality from nightmare. Minutes stretched into eternities as he clung to the restraint, praying for release. Finally, the roller coaster screeched to a halt, leaving John trembling and disoriented. He stumbled out of the car and found himself in a desolate part of the park, surrounded by shadowy figures. They were the ghosts of parkgoers long forgotten, trapped in Twilight Park for eternity. Their hollow eyes bore into him, silently pleading for salvation. John's heart ached with pity and dread, but he knew there was no escape for any of them. He had become one with the park, his life forever entwined with its horrors. As the first rays of dawn began to break, Twilight Park returned to its daytime facade, hiding the horrors that lurked beneath. John's camera had captured the proof he sought, but it was a testament to his own descent into madness. He knew he could never leave the park, destined to join the spectral patrons who haunted its cursed grounds. Twilight Park remained a sinister secret, luring unsuspecting souls into its clutches with promises of joy and excitement. But when the sun dipped below the horizon, it transformed into a nightmarish realm of endless horror, where the screams of the damned echoed through eternity. The legend of Twilight Park lived on, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved, and some horrors are best left unexplored. In the heart of a sprawling, nameless metropolis, nestled among the towering concrete monoliths that reached for the heavens, there stood an aging apartment building. Its faded facade spoke of decades past, and its narrow corridors whispered secrets from times long gone. This was where our tale of terror would unfold, in the apartment of one Arthur Bennett, a man of quiet disposition, whose life was about to be forever altered by an inexplicable and malevolent force. Arthur's apartment was on the 5th floor, a humble abode in a building teeming with stories, not all of them pleasant. His computer, a relic of the early 2000s, sat on a cluttered desk in a corner of the room. Arthur, an unassuming programmer, relied heavily on this machine to earn his living. He had spent countless hours in its flickering blue glow, weaving intricate lines of code into existence. But recently, this seemingly innocuous device had begun to take on a sinister life of its own. It began with minor inconveniences, an occasional crash, a sudden, unexplained slowdown. Arthur brushed these off as the natural quirks of aging technology, but the incidents grew in frequency and severity. One evening, as he was racing against a deadline, the computer spontaneously shut down, erasing hours of unsaved work. Cursing under his breath, Arthur restarted it, only to find a new document titled "The Abyss" on his desktop. He had never created such a file. The document contained nothing but a series of cryptic symbols and a chilling message: "You cannot escape." Arthur's heart raced as a cold sweat dripped down his brow. He deleted the file and attributed it to some odd software glitch, but the ominous message continued to haunt him in his dreams. The computer's malevolence escalated. Arthur's files vanished, only to reappear in corrupted forms. His internet searches led him to bizarre and unsettling websites filled with eerie images and whispered incantations. He tried contacting tech support, but they could find no logical explanation for his woes. Sleep-deprived and on edge, Arthur's health began to deteriorate. Shadows danced at the periphery of his vision, and he heard faint, mocking whispers that seemed to emanate from his computer. His once ordered life unraveled, and his job performance suffered. Colleagues, noticing the bags under his eyes and his erratic behavior, began to distance themselves. One fateful night, as the city's lights outside his window painted a ghostly tableau, Arthur sat in front of his computer, determined to confront the malevolent entity. He whispered, "Who are you?" His computer flickered to life, the screen pulsating with an eerie, green glow. A voice emerged from the speakers, spectral and dripping with malice. "I am the one you cannot escape. I am the darkness within your machine." Arthur's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the horror he faced. He couldn't understand how this was possible, how the entity had infiltrated his computer, his life. It revealed its sinister purpose: to consume him, to drag him into the depths of the digital abyss. Desperation seized Arthur, and he frantically researched ways to banish the malevolent presence. His quest led him to obscure online forums, where he learned of an ancient ritual involving purging the computer of dark energies. Armed with this knowledge, he procured rare herbs, candles, and arcane symbols. The ritual took place in the dead of night, his apartment shrouded in darkness save for the flickering candlelight. Arthur chanted incantations, surrounded by the heady scent of herbs and the eerie glow of the computer. The entity fought back, unleashing a tempest of unsettling images and sounds, but Arthur's determination burned brighter. He pushed forward, reciting the incantations until he felt the malevolence retreat. With a final burst of energy, Arthur expelled the darkness from his computer, sealing it within a mysterious talisman he had fashioned for this very purpose. The apartment trembled as the entity was banished, leaving behind a palpable aura of dread. Arthur's life gradually returned to normal, but the ordeal had left its scars. He moved to a new apartment, leaving behind the malevolent computer, now locked in a heavy steel chest. He resumed his work, though the experience haunted his dreams. He knew that, even though he had escaped the abyss within his machine, it would forever lurk in the shadows of his memory, a chilling reminder of the horrors that could lurk within the digital realm. In the heart of a quiet, picturesque town nestled deep within the dense woods of New England, there stood an imposing and enigmatic building known to locals as the Quantum Laboratory. For years, it had remained abandoned, a decaying relic of a bygone era. Its crumbling facade and overgrown ivy concealed a dark history, one whispered about around campfires on cold, moonless nights. The Quantum Laboratory had once been the epicenter of groundbreaking scientific research, a place where brilliant minds had delved into the mysteries of the universe itself. But as the legend went, the experiments had become increasingly bizarre and perilous, and the laboratory had fallen into disrepair, all personnel having mysteriously vanished. A shadowy curse was said to loom over the abandoned structure, casting a chilling aura that infected the entire town. Nina, a curious and intrepid young woman, had recently moved to the town. She was a physicist, drawn to the Quantum Laboratory's dark reputation like a moth to a flame. Despite warnings from her neighbors, she couldn't resist the allure of its secrets. Armed with her scientific knowledge and a fervent desire to unravel the mysteries that surrounded the laboratory, she ventured inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, a shiver coursed through her body. The air was thick with an eerie, otherworldly silence. Dust motes danced in the dim light that filtered through broken windows. Nina's footsteps echoed ominously as she explored the abandoned laboratory's labyrinthine corridors. Her exploration led her to a room bathed in a faint blue glow. Strange, arcane symbols adorned the walls, and an unsettling energy seemed to emanate from the very floor beneath her feet. In the center of the room stood an intricately designed machine, a relic of the laboratory's former experiments. Its purpose eluded her, but it beckoned her with an irresistible allure. With trembling hands, Nina approached the machine, her scientific curiosity overpowering her fear. She noticed a journal nearby, its pages yellowed with age but filled with meticulous notes, sketches, and equations. As she began to decipher the cryptic writings, she realized that the scientists had been attempting to manipulate the very fabric of reality itself. The machine, known as the quantum resonator, was designed to tap into alternate dimensions, opening a doorway to realms beyond human comprehension. The experiments had delved deeper and deeper into the unknown, and with each step, they had torn holes in the fabric of reality. It was said that the laboratory scientists had inadvertently summoned something from the abyss, something malevolent. As Nina continued her research, she felt an ominous presence lurking in the room. She spun around, her heart pounding, only to be met with an empty space. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that something unseen and sinister had taken an interest in her. Over the following days, strange occurrences plagued Nina. Unexplained noises echoed through her small house at night, and unsettling shadows danced at the edge of her vision. She became consumed by the journal's writings, feeling a compulsion to complete the experiments the scientists had started. With meticulous care, Nina began to rebuild the quantum resonator, deciphering the equations and recreating the machine's intricate components. Each night, she grew more obsessed, less aware of the growing darkness that surrounded her. As the quantum resonator neared completion, the once quiet town descended into chaos. Residents reported nightmares, sightings of grotesque creatures, and inexplicable phenomena. Fear gripped the town like a vice, and the curse of the quantum laboratory seemed to seep into every corner. One fateful night, as Nina activated the quantum resonator, the very fabric of reality began to unravel. The room filled with a blinding blue light, and a deafening cacophony of unearthly sounds assaulted her senses. The rift between dimensions widened, and from its depths emerged a nightmarish entity, a creature born of the laboratory's unholy experiments. The creature, a grotesque fusion of twisted limbs and writhing tendrils, loomed over Nina, its eyes glowing with malevolence. As it advanced, a chilling realization washed over her. She had unwittingly unleashed the curse that had haunted the town for decades. Desperate to undo the horrors she had unleashed, Nina grabbed the journal and began frantically scribbling equations to reverse the quantum resonator's effects. But the creature, sensing her intentions, moved closer, its shadowy appendages reaching out to snuff out her life. In her final moments, as the room imploded around her, Nina realized the terrible truth. Some secrets were never meant to be uncovered, and the curse of the quantum laboratory would forever haunt the town and anyone who dared to tread into its malevolent depths.